I'm talking to this girl, and everything seems fine, but she is so unresponsive that I feel like I'm talking to myself. I wonder if this is a common problem and how I can deal with it. Story 1. For me, that's a good sign that this isn't going to work out. Either we have bad chemistry, or she is uninteresting. Story 2. Online dating can overwhelm people as they often find themselves having the same conversation multiple times. The best approach is to get hyper-specific about a topic they are passionate about to encourage them to open up. Story 3. This is why I gave up on dating. Putting all the effort into trying to have even a simple conversation gets old. Story 4. I stopped tolerating this when I was 26. I have no problem carrying on a conversation because I have the voice of a radio host and I love to talk. But I'm not going to sit here and do this for the next 55 years while you just say, Story 5. Is this a continuous issue with this woman? Or could it be just anxiety on the first date or during our conversation? Am I steering this conversation poorly? Or is it simply her own lack of enthusiasm and energy? That's what I ask myself. I cannot tolerate uninteresting people, so I end it if I am not receiving any reciprocation. Story 6. I married a quiet and arguably reserved woman. It was not that she was uninterested. It was simply her nature. We have been together for 12 years and married for almost 10. We can go hours without talking. Nothing is wrong. We just joke that we have said it all. I remember a time when we took a trip to the beach. Her mother rode along with us and thought we were having a major fight because we weren't talking. We simply aren't fond of small talk, which her mother engages in most of the time. I must admit, though, the courting phase felt like pulling teeth until I had a heart-to-heart with a coworker. He basically said that we were only doing what I wanted to do. Now, if she suggests anything, we will do it. I understand that this dynamic is not for everyone. Story 7. That's the thing you don't. I wish more guys knew or would spread the word that if she's only sending dry texts, she's not truly interested. There is a significant difference in the quality of conversation when a woman is interested in you. Some women are not great at texting but may actually be into you. This can be tested by asking if they want to go out. If their response is something like, I don't know, I'm so busy, then they're not interested and you should move on. Story 8. To be honest, it might just be that she's a bad texter. I have a few friends who are the same boring conversationalists via text. However, as soon as we get on the phone or meet in person, we can spend hours chatting naturally. There are sometimes silences, but they aren't awkward. They're companionable. It's lovely. Conclusion, try a phone call. Story 9, by simply moving on, or, if you are dating, by finding other women to enjoy talking to. Human beings cannot be perfect. Nobody can have or offer everything. So, I would just look for other people who can provide what I seek. If a woman is kind and attractive but struggles with conversation, I could find someone who is a good communicator, even if her appearance or personality is not what I desire. Story 10. If someone is interested in you, they are enthusiastic when speaking to you and will sometimes initiate the conversation. If this is not happening, it's best to move on. Story 11. It's honestly shocking how many women are hypercritical about men's social skills and their ability to hold a conversation. Yet this is what little they bring to the table. My advice is to move on. Life is too short for this nonsense, and I'm willing to bet she is actively chasing a drug-addicted person just because he plays in a rock band. I made the same exact mistake as you early on, taking all the responsibility to drive the conversation and thinking that the lack of engagement was a reflection of me when it wasn't. It's entirely her responsibility to put in the effort. By the same token, you have every right to walk away if it's not what you want. I always ask myself, what's going to come from this? Even if you do impress her, then what? You obviously can't maintain that level of effort forever, and it will only drive you to frustration. Story 12, I just dip. I'm not going to talk to someone I don't want to talk to. If the conversation is dry, are you really going to date that person long term? Are you willing to resign yourself to a boring life? The last girl I dated, we spent over 9 hours on the phone together. We averaged about 2 to 3 hours a day. I miss her for real. But don't be with boring people when you can find someone you truly connect with. Story 13. Dry conversations are not worth it based on my experience. I have dated quite a bit and decided that if conversations are uninteresting after a few days, I let them go. Those who are genuinely interested will engage and make an effort to keep the conversation balanced. Those are the ones worth your time. Story 14. I just want to be honest. The last girl I was talking to, I had to ask all the questions and bring up every topic. All she did was text me in the morning so we could text all day. It was terrible. Story 15. Find someone else to talk to. She is not really interested in you. Some women use men for entertainment when they are bored. Story 16. No amount of mutual values can overwrite basic chemistry. If there isn't something there, there isn't something there. I've had this problem before with one woman. She was great overall and on paper, but the conversation was boring. I told her I had a great date but didn't want another. Before you call it quits, just ask her directly if she is nervous, shy, or anxious. If she seems comfortable and this is her true self, then it's best to move on. Story 17. Find someone who matches your effort. Not everyone is compatible, and it seems you two are not. It's best when things can be natural. Story 18. Well, either you are boring, she is, or both. I try to weed out the boring ones before going on dates. I have had dates with limited chemistry or when she was not as interested as I had hoped. I try to encourage more engagement by asking in-depth and open-ended questions. If that does not work, I might say, "Hey, I feel like I am doing all the talking here. Tell me more about yourself." If that still does not lead to a connection, it may not be a good match. Story 19. Most women tend to use more words than necessary. They often express themselves with lengthy language, but if you pay attention, they can convey the same message in fewer words. The additional words are often just filler. Story 20. You could always try being honest, but keep it polite. For example, "Hey, I've noticed you haven't been talking to me in a meaningful way. You've responded with short replies and haven't shared much. Is something wrong? I don't want to waste either of our time if you aren't interested." If she gives you a vague answer or tries to deflect, it's probably best to end things there. Her. "No, I mean, we might have some chemistry," or "No, I haven't. I've been telling you a lot of things." You. "I don't think this is going to work out. Thank you for your time." Then pay for your meal or whatever and just leave. Story 21. So, if I may, I specialize in this area for a living. I wrote this with a few helpful suggestions. I hope it helps or encourages someone. Dealing with dry conversations can be a challenge, but it's important to remember that it takes time to get to know someone and reach a comfortable place in conversation. However, there's no guarantee that the chemistry will always be there. She may find you boring, or you may find her boring. Here are some ideas to help you improve the conversation. Know yourself first. Before diving into conversations, take a moment to reflect on yourself. Look in the mirror and ask, what have you learned lately? How have you grown lately? Who are you and what matters to you? What interests not only you but others as well? Understanding yourself is crucial before trying to understand someone else. Identify what you want and remember that to get something, you have to give something first to yourself. Conversation starters. You could kick off the conversation with something like, "I'm reading this book by this author, and it's about this topic. I really like it, or it's something I don't care for, but I'll finish it anyway because I was curious about it." Have you ever had that experience? What's the last thing you read? What would you like to read? Do you enjoy reading, or do you prefer audiobooks or podcasts? If she mentions something she likes, ask her why she enjoys it. Try to engage her in a meaningful conversation and feel out the connection. If she's struggling to engage, you might say, "So if it's not your thing, that's fine. Could you tell me what is your thing? Can you share with me 3 things that you enjoy now or from your past and why? Is there something in the future you've thought about but haven't tried yet? What might that be? Not necessarily with me, just for you." Try new activities. If she seems interested in spending time with you but struggles with conversation, suggest new activities to do together. For instance, horseback riding, going to a play or concert, trying out dance classes or karaoke, going fishing, hiking, or camping. visiting museums, or attending outdoor events. Before going to any event, research it and have some talking points ready to spark a conversation. Ask her what she thinks, how it made her feel, and if she would like to do it again. Conversation card games. Another great way to stimulate conversation is by using conversation card games like 50+ questions to ask to grow your relationship. Create Better Communication by Krista Mounsey. Couple Reconnect. Deeper Conversations. Designed by Dr. Tanya Sharma. Amazon's Talking Point Cards. 200 couples conversation cards for adults. Enjoy better relationships and deeper intimacy. Story 22. It's natural to experience awkward silence in a conversation, but if you find that you have nothing in common to discuss, that person may not be the right match for you. Don't waste your time. Move on. If she has nothing to contribute to the conversation, she may not be worth it. Story 23. I lose interest. If a girl is giving you dull conversation, she is not interested and does not see the value. She needs to change her behavior or move on. Story 24. To be honest, it sounds like she isn't interested. I don't care how boring girls may seem. They will give you positive energy and be more engaging to talk to if they truly like you. She may be feigning interest as a way to keep your attention because it feels good, but I think she probably doesn't feel for you the way you feel for her. She could also simply be a very uninteresting person. If that's the case, you should consider whether it's worth it in the long run. Can you maintain all the conversations? Or do you need someone who can be interesting on their own? Story 25. When I find myself asking questions and doing most of the talking, I stop communicating. It's a waste of time. Story 26. Define talking. Are you actually talking, or are you messaging? I know I cannot keep up a conversation while messaging, but in person, I can talk nonstop for hours. Some of us need actual feedback like body language and tone in order to have a conversation. Story 27. Be comfortable in awkward silences. You don't have to talk all the time. Being able to comfortably remain silent and help her relax without the pressure to say something is significant. Craig Ferguson had those awkward pauses and turned them into a flirty and enjoyable staring contest. Story 28. It's the indicator that tells you she isn't interested. This often happens when the person you are pursuing is not interested in you, but in your interest in her. Those who are genuinely interested in you won't let the connection fade. Story 29. If I don't have solid chemistry and good conversations from the beginning, I don't proceed. Why deal with that? You should be enjoying yourself. Story 30. When you feel like you're talking to yourself consistently, it's a good sign to reconsider the situation. Either she is not interested enough in you to want a relationship, and the feeling of talking to yourself will only grow into more insecurities that affect your mindset. Or she is interested in you, but her communication style reveals a fundamental incompatibility with how you express attention and motivation. If you believe it's the second scenario, practice asserting your boundaries and have an honest discussion about how it makes you feel and how you want to interact. She may respond positively or not. She might not trust you, or there could be an unresolved issue. Be cautious in the first scenario. She may not be open about her lack of interest. If she enjoys your attention or the benefits of spending time with you, she might be leading you on. Story 31. This is a common problem. You can address it by finding someone else to talk to. Not everyone is unresponsive. You will save a lot of time that way. Story 32. It was quite common for me and enough to make me quit. I would block them after the third message. It's why I don't blame individuals who decide to send poorly thought out messages or inappropriate pictures. What's the point of trying to have a conversation with people who don't care? Story 33. These questions often come from individuals who do not understand what it feels like to be appreciated by women. I do not mean to be unkind to the original poster. I have experienced a similar situation many times. However, my perspective shifted when I spent time with my friend, a well-liked individual among women, and observed how women made every effort to gain and maintain his attention. They were almost giddy. I realized that many women do not find most men appealing and often seek moments when they can be around a select few men they consider superior. I understand now that the women I dated did not genuinely like me. They were simply bored and had not accepted the reality of their available options. They lived in the quiet, desperate hope many women share, longing to meet a man who is objectively better than themselves, yet will treat them as equals. Essentially, a fairy tale fantasy. Story 34. Try asking her questions about various topics, including current events and unusual subjects. Do you enjoy fishing? Story 35. Try men, but there are many posts here suggesting that this is why a guy seems to never connect with women. Story 36. Send her memes and YouTube videos you enjoy. Ask her what movies she is interested in. If she is not engaging, then stop the conversation. Story 37. I dislike dry conversations as well. You should find a more engaging person or consider if she is not someone who enjoys phone communication. If she prefers in-person interactions and seems genuinely interested when you meet, then there's no need to worry. However, if she is unenthusiastic and the text conversations are lackluster, it might be time to move on. Story 38. There may be a lack of conversation skills or interest from either party. Try to lead and break the mold to move towards better conversation topics. Story 39. If you want to give the woman the benefit of the doubt, try to steer the conversation toward topics that interest you. If that fails, then exit. You have the right to leave the relationship if things do not seem favorable for you. Story 40. I don't. A dry conversation is one of, if not the quickest ways to get me to stop talking to a girl. There's no point in wanting to stay interested if the other person doesn't sound or appear interested in the first place. Story 41. She may not be good at communicating through text, or simply may not enjoy talking to you. If you are bringing up topics that you want to share with her, and she is responding without showing a decent level of interest, then it may be best to move on. You should seek someone who is genuinely interested in what you like to discuss. Everyone eventually encounters someone who gives off a vibe of disinterest or indifference toward their time and effort, and that is completely normal. Save yourself time and find someone else. If you have spoken to this person in person and received a different impression, it could be that she struggles with text communication. Ultimately, you can only base your decisions on what you know or have experienced. No one will blame you for making a decision based on her behavior. Story 42. Since when? If from the very start of your dating stage he was like that, he may truly be that way. However, if you are in the middle of your relationship and he suddenly changes, it means he may not want to continue but just can't say it. Story 43. Tell them they are boring and cannot hold a conversation, then unmatch. I have met nonverbal individuals with more personality than some of these women. Story 44. I spent 6 months with a woman like that. We would spend weekends together, and she wouldn't have anything to say. She would sit on her phone, texting her daughter or using social media. You shouldn't be with someone and feel alone. Now I am much happier. Story 45. I would move on. Invest that time in yourself and in what makes you happy. The right person will find you eventually. Story 46. I don't. Not all women enjoy texting, and I have learned that as long as you see them in person regularly enough, it can work. However, if she wants to text or talk but doesn't engage in the conversation, I simply say I'm not feeling it and leave. Story 47. Break up with her as soon as possible. My last girlfriend was the same. A 6-year relationship should have ended at 2 years. I was too scared to break up with her. It was horrible. Story 48. It is more common in women younger than 25 in my experience. I deal with it by looking for patterns in their profiles. I then talk to women who do not have those patterns and test my theory until I can find the correlation. After that, I avoid those who fit the patterns and focus on dating better women. For me, the age limit was 25. Now I set my search filter to 27 to 37, and that works well for me. Story 49. She is just not interested in you. A dry conversation comes from a lack of interest, which leads to a lack of effort. Never wait for someone to change their feelings about you. It will never be genuine. It's a waste of time and resources. Story 50. I often say something random and outrageous just to get a response. If I don't and I'm bored, I say thanks, pay, and leave. Life's too short. My fiancée is really funny, and I love talking to her. Don't waste your time with boring people. Story 51. Either encourage her to talk, or you are wasting your time with one-sided conversations. It will be even worse if she is only there to get a free meal rather than genuinely getting to know you, as many women do these days. Story 52. This would be a situation where you take a chance. Say something silly and lighthearted. If she doesn't laugh, then she may not be the right match. If she laughs at your quirks, then you can continue the conversation. Story 53. Just be quiet. You don't always have to be talking everyone's ears off. Just be quiet and let her think of something to say or ask you. That's what I'm doing right now. I just stay silent and let her ask me questions. If she doesn't keep engaging, then it's not going anywhere. The fact that our conversation is a bit dull, yet she continues to ask me questions and switch to different subjects, shows that she is interested. Or at least that's what it feels like. Story 54. One of the first indications that you have a future together is that the conversation flows naturally. You are not self-conscious, and you share a similar sense of humor. If your conversations are running dry, I would not pursue it. Story 55. You simply move on. If after your conversation they still show interest by making an effort to reach you by sending a message another day, ask them out of the blue. If not, do not pursue and change your focus. Story 56. As a woman, if I were dating men, I would not engage in dry conversations. This is why, when I dated, I limited the people I met to 1 hour of my time. If we were having fun, it would last longer. Story 57. If she is not the right person, then choose someone who will engage in a good conversation. I experience the same issue, and I will reciprocate that energy and walk away. Story 58. When talking, are you discussing yourself or asking questions to get to know her? If you are talking about yourself or telling her a story from your past, she is just listening. If you are asking questions about her and she responds, she is opening up to you even a little. She is interested, but she might have anxiety in social settings. Even if you are at a restaurant, some people do not mind the food, drinks, and casual conversation. However, do something fun or spontaneous with her. Find out what her ideal date would be, or see if there is an activity like go-kart racing that she has not tried but would enjoy. Sometimes just doing the typical food or movie thing can create awkward silences. She might feel like she cannot be loud, or perhaps she has a unique sense of humor and knows it may not be appropriate in public. She could also be observing you to determine if she can be herself and to gauge your depth. Are you more focused on looks, or are you kind and trustworthy? How do you speak about your ex-partners? How much effort are you putting into genuinely getting to know her? Or are you only interested in a casual relationship? Silence does not necessarily indicate a lack of interest. It could be a form of self-preservation or a comfort in not speaking if there is nothing of value to add to the conversation. Story 59. I went on 3 dates with a girl like this. It wasn't going to work. We had nothing in common, even though she was very cute. Story 60. In person? If you're interested, ask if she wants to go somewhere else. If not, just close the tab and stand up. Online, ask her to get a drink. Either she responds and things move forward, or she doesn't, and you're done anyway. Story 61. If we cannot find something in common to talk about, it just will not go anywhere. Maybe the intimacy will be good, and we have that at least. I have dated women with whom we could talk all night and others not so much. A woman I am currently talking to and I just had a 3-hour conversation over the phone about gaming, bikes, and other interests. She is into all of that, so the conversation was solid. Another friend of mine I can only talk with for short periods because we really do not have common interests. I remember a few times I would leave to use the bathroom while we were watching a movie or show. I would get back and ask her what I missed. She either was not paying attention or was just terrible at being able to articulate what she was seeing on screen. She said, "The guy drove the car to this place and, Story 62. Shout, "Ah, my back." She'll ask what happened. Tell her your back hurts from carrying this conversation and ask if she can help you out. Story 63. I have not dealt with that. A dry conversation in the early introductory phase suggests that we are not going to develop an official relationship. A lack of depth often indicates a lack of interest. Message received, goodbye. Story 64. My wife was drier than a cracker on our first date. Some women get nervous in the presence of a stranger, while others take a while to warm up. We have been married for 10 years. If this is a common occurrence with the women you pursue, it might be time to reconsider your choices. Story 65. No, I just don't deal with that. I like to explore what makes people laugh. If it doesn't align with my natural sense of humor, it's not really worth it. Story 66. You try for a few minutes. If there is no spark, you cannot force it. Even if she is attractive, is it worth it? A good conversation can lead to a connection that may result in better and more intimate experiences. Story 67. Although this may be a surprise to many men here, quite a number of women are socially awkward and lack charm. I generally avoid boring and obtuse women. Story 68. Do you mean on the app or in person? If it's on the app, move directly to in person. If it's in person, proceed. Story 69. Honestly, if you are feeling this way now, then it is not a good sign. Consider a lifetime of this and whether you would be able to handle it long term. Do you share many interests that you can bond over? Story 70. It means they have relied on their looks, achieving a high rating, but they are quite boring otherwise. I simply ignore them and move on. If they genuinely like you, they may inadvertently try harder when you show them that their approach isn't effective. Story 71. You don't either. You aren't interesting enough or she isn't. Either way, if you are getting bored or annoyed at the texting stage, there is no way you all will go the distance. Story 72. Offer to meet in person for coffee and a walk in the park or another casual, inexpensive activity where you won't feel awkward. This way, you can see if she is genuinely interested or as uninteresting as she seems, helping you avoid wasting both of your time. Story 73. Do you mean in person or through text? Personally, I have a hard time being interesting in text, but I am much better in person. If you have not met her yet, I would say to do that and see if it changes things. If you have met her and the conversation is dry in all areas, then I don't know. Story 74. I make it interesting with deep conversations about geography and travel, while gently encouraging stepping out of the comfort zone. If she doesn't like it, you can sense hostility or sudden changes. Don't force it or use too much energy to make something work that just isn't meant to be. Story 75. If I have to drag words and conversation out of her and she doesn't contribute, I just move on. It's not worth my time. I'm clearly not who she wants me to be. Story 76. Generally, if things don't improve after a few conversations, I'll politely conclude the discussion and move on. It is not a major warning sign exactly, but in my experience, it is a total non-starter and will likely never improve. In all likelihood, you probably just aren't a good match for each other, and someone else will have a very different experience. Story 77. Ask many questions about her. Eventually, you will find a topic she enjoys discussing. Just continue talking about that. Story 78. She is either not interested in you, boring, or you two have no chemistry. There are 3 options. Story 79. If she has nothing going on and cannot hold a conversation, it's time to move on. Carrying all the weight is not worth it in the long term. You are heading toward a dead end. Story 80. You don't. The harder you try, the worse it gets. Stop being manipulative. I don't know about other women, but most women I have been with didn't have deep, long, happy conversations. Just how's your day kind of stuff. Story 81. That's a sign that she's not really into you. If someone is interested in you, she'll be excited and can't wait to chat or see you. If the conversation is dry, she's either using you or not interested. Just delete her number or block her and move on. Story 82. Just move on. I never continued with a girl unless our conversations were engaging from the start. Should be easy. Story 83. Push through it. Either you make conversation or someone else will. I assume you are just looking around right now and do not have a specific person in mind based on how the post is written. However, the dating scene today is challenging, and men must navigate it. Unless you are wealthy or attractive, you have to put in a lot of effort. Many women are accustomed to not having to exert themselves in conversations because they receive attention frequently. You just have to be unique. Story 84. If you are trying to make a conversation work, a helpful tip is to repeat the last sentence the other person says in the form of a question, using a tone that expresses genuine interest in hearing more. For example, her. So then after that, we just went to get hot dogs. You went to get hot dogs? This technique can reignite the conversation, encouraging the other person to elaborate, providing you with more topics to discuss or inspiring them to think of something else to talk about. If you are not interested, it may be best to end the conversation. If it feels unengaging, she may not be the right match for you. Story 85. This often happens to me. It is frustrating when you are trying to converse, asking questions, and receiving one-word answers. Story 86. I start picking on them and making fun of things they do. When they question why I'm picking on them, I ask what their motive is for doing what they do. Is it a coping mechanism or a way to deal with boredom because they find me interesting? Or are they bringing in baggage from a previous relationship and dealing with it while we're together? Then, I might share a story about when I got involved with a married woman, though purely fictional. I ask her if she would be the type to cheat on me, considering that karma might come back to me if I start dating someone. This tends to create offense. However, they often start talking about their positive qualities, which is a useful way to kickstart the conversation. Remember, any attention is good attention. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.